All right, so what makes something a podcast? Does it just talking for a long time? Anyway, so I want to talk about a few different things. So first of all, when it comes to like investing, um, I want to talk about Microvision a little bit, not in detail about the company, but more kind of what happened, and hopefully I can use that example as for people to be able to invest a little bit better or smarter, or how to handle a situation like that a little bit better. So uh, basically, like I said in my video, if you watched it, when a stock runs up 100, 150, 160%, there's always a pullback. When exactly is that going to pull back? Can't really predict that, but it pretty much, I think, happened the next day or the day after. I don't remember which one. But I was thinking about like how to advise people like what to do in that situation because everyone's in a different situation. So what I kind of was thinking was like a couple different examples. So let's say that somebody has, they're living, they've got a job, they've got a place to stay, they're living paycheck to paycheck, and let's imagine that they've got like $100 in checking and then like $200 in their savings. I know that's not a lot, but let's just say, okay. And then they decided to put $500 that they had, they used to have an extra $500 in there somewhere, and they decided to put that into the stock market and they bought Microvision, right? So then it goes up 160%. And so now they've got like $1,300 from their $500. Okay. So I, there's a few different ways to look at this. Okay. So one, when someone makes that kind of money and they only have so much money in their account, right? Like in that situation, they would have made $800, which would have basically with the 500 that they invested and the 300 that they have in their accounts, they basically just doubled their whole sort of like net worth for like, like liquid cash or whatever, right? So in that situation, I would probably recommend, take your money because you just doubled everything that you have because you're going to probably feel pretty. I mean, we don't want to let emotions get involved, but you're probably going to be upset if you lose that money, right? Because in that situation, you kind of need it. However, someone else who has like $100,000 in savings and let's say they've got like five or $10,000 in checking, whatever happened with that $500 in the short term probably isn't as important, right? So they probably would appreciate to get that like double or double and a half of their money, but it's not going to be a big deal if they didn't sell immediately and then take profits, right? So that's one way to look at it is to kind of like scale like what do you have right now? What did you just make? And are you going to be sad if you don't keep that, right? So a bit of advice on how to handle that might be, for example, maybe you could take your 500 out, your initial investment, take that out, so that's protected, and then that extra 800 that you've got is like play or like fantasy money, right? And so you don't feel too bad if it goes down or whatever happens with it. Or you could break that up and start putting that into other investments or just leave it there. That's one option. Or you could be a person that takes profits. So maybe you take that 800, you could leave your 500 in there, and play it that way. And so those are maybe a couple different ways to think about it. Everyone's going to be in a different situation, but yeah. And again, like if you bought Microvision because, and let me be clear, like if you watch my video, there was no reason specifically from Microvision for it to be skyrocketing like that. I told you that was a Wall Street bets thing. So it's basically getting pumped up, right? Like people do like the technology, but it's not like they had some like product that was like a bestseller or like nothing crazy happened to make it do that. It was Wall Street bets, right? So that's really important to keep in mind because their earnings came out, and of course it was not good. There was no reason for it to be good. Um, I did leave out one thing from my video, which isn't that important, but there is like a consumer level product that I'm pretty sure that anybody can buy. You should be able to, and it's basically like essentially like an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi. You get to mess with it. You can code on it. It's basically a laser, and you can attach it to things. There's a bunch of different uses. Maybe I could talk a little bit about what you could do with that, but I'm not going to get into the details because it's not a Microvision thing. I'll save that for later. So yeah, let's see what else. So that's one way to handle that. I know everyone's going to be kind of in a different situation, but yeah. And then yeah, when it comes to Microvision, that was cool, but I definitely was saying like you should be careful. Like when something runs up like that, like I advise not to get too greedy because I've been there before when something's running up. I also got kind of spoiled because yeah, 163% is pretty good, but I've had stocks that go 1,000%. I've had a stock go 1,600%. So I can also fall into that trap of being like, oh, it could go up more, go up more. So everyone's going to learn those lessons, and it's going to be different every time, because in an alternate universe it probably did run up for another day or two. You know what I mean? I also have this weird theory that, like, I don't know, that we're all always going into like parallel dimensions, and sometimes like the stock market is just going to teach you different lessons. So like I might live in a universe where it skyrocketed and then for you it dropped the next day, and I think it's constantly splitting. I know that's weird, but that's kind of how I see it. And yeah, so so I do kind of hope that people like sold off, but if you didn't, don't worry, like it might get pumped again. It's still up, I think, like 50% from the 10 that I had kind of recommended, so it's not all lost. You're still probably making money. And from what I saw, I think it was coming back up slowly. We'll see what happens this week. It's not that important. But yeah, what happened was definitely not because of something specifically from Microvision. Although I did listen to a bit of their earnings call, and they're like right now they're just working on their hardware, making it better, more advanced. So it could be a thing that takes another year to do that again. It might happen next week or in a month. We'll see. I suppose if you're interested in that, like being able to skyrocket again, maybe look on Reddit and Wall Street Bets. I haven't been looking at that at all. I don't really care personally, because I was always just interested in Microvision from a long time ago, like in December. Um, I think that was maybe the first time I ever bought into it, and it had nothing to do with Reddit or anything like that. So yeah, I just thought it was an interesting company, and I like that it's like local here. So I want to talk about Doge. So Doge is doing really well. One thing I wanted to mention was I was just doing some like quick math, really terrible math, and basically, I don't know if you saw my post about how, if everyone, it's super dumb, but if everyone in the country put in like $1,000, it would get to like a 400, I think, $1 billion market cap, which would put it at like a 2.7 something per coin, which is an 8.5 times increase on both the market cap and the value of it. Meaning that get in my opinion, which to me doesn't sound like that much, and I broke it down a little bit more, and I just kept doing like basically a doubling and a halving of like those values, and I found an interesting one, which is that at only 5 million people, and it doesn't have to be just in the world or in the country. It's like it could be a global thing, right? But only 5 million people would need to put $64,000 in, and that maybe 5 million people sounds like a lot to have that kind of money, but I don't think it's a lot when you consider like billions of people in the world. And it's not, it doesn't have to be specifically that amount. I'm just saying that, like, that's assuming that no one adds $1 billion or billions or millions and millions. I'm just saying, like, as it is right now, or it was when I made those numbers up. Yeah, it would only take 5 million people to put in $64,000, and that to me that made it sound a lot more feasible for sure. I also want to make kind of a really bold statement, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I've been looking at like Bitcoin and people talking about Doge and Ethereum and all the different cryptos, and it's possible, and I'm not saying it's going to happen because it's just a meme coin and it's got a lot of haters, but it's possible that Doge, if it continues becoming more used in different marketplaces, it could actually, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, it could pass the market cap of Bitcoin. So, yeah, again, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's definitely a lot of people that are not understanding that. Like, there's still people saying that you can't do anything with it. Like, even on CNBC, there was that one lady who's like a Tesla short seller, which tells you everything you need to know right there, that was saying it's pointless, it has no value, and you can't use it anywhere. Which is like immediately right now is completely untrue, because I can go to Newegg, I can go to the Maverick store. And like there's also like brick and mortar retailers that are starting to accept Dogecoin. Oh, and here's another one. I don't remember the name. Maybe his last name is Lawrence, but it's a football player, and he has a new sponsorship. I don't know who, but he's getting paid. He might have some cash coming in from that, but he's getting paid in crypto. So he's getting Ethereum, he's getting Bitcoin, and he's getting Doge, which is a smart move because, like, I mean, you get paid in cash, okay, but you get paid in crypto. And if you look at any of those coins, they're going up a lot in value. So, I mean, like, I would love to start getting paid in like Dogecoin or whatever cryptos rather than cash, because that will be worth more. So, yeah, anyway, that's one little thing about Doge. And also, I want to say another thing too. It's like there's a lot of different like cryptos out there, and why I kind of stay away from like these smaller like alt or maybe some people would call them shit coins, is one, they're risky. Like you can't get them on more secure. Like you can't get a lot of these coins on like Coinbase. That's you have to get them on these like more obscure digital wallets, which is one thing that I don't like. And I'm not suggesting that you can't find a great coin or make a lot of money. Like I'm sure there's people making money already, but there's a couple things. Like one, like when it comes to the Doge like community, like I love it. Like on Twitter, on Reddit, on like on Facebook or whatever, the Doge people seem to me to be like the most like fun and like happy, the least toxic. Like yeah, like we're all just having a lot of fun with it. And there's a lot of people out there that are like really pushing their altcoins. Like, oh, people will be like, oh, you can for $100 you can get like 11 million of these coins, right? And then basically they're banking that because they're buying like coins at 0.00000001 of a penny. And then they're like, okay, well, when that gets to $1, my 11 million coins that I got for $100 is going to be worth $11 million. And it's just like, okay, maybe, but like the amount of money that would have to get dumped into that specific coin is an insane number. And imagine that all these people who just put in like and again, like there's people who put in $100 in Bitcoin or in Doge that like a long time ago. I'm not saying it's impossible, but what I don't really like is that a lot of these like little crypto communities are really pushy and get really toxic about other coins. And that's something that I really don't like if someone's trying to get you to buy like a crypto, like if you have to pump your crypto, like I talk about Doge, but like you see how I talk about it. Like I don't care if you don't buy it. It's a meme coin. Like it's just fun. It just happens to be doing well. And like I love the community, and like even like the original creator of Doge like is part of it too. Like he's on Twitter and everything, and it's just you see like just if you're like if you haven't seen it, maybe just go check it out. You'll see the difference. Like you look at like Safe Moon or like all these different other ones where people get in like fights about it, and then they want to say that like Dogecoin is like a meme coin that I've literally had someone tell me today that it deserves to die. Like people are so bizarre. So yeah, that's kind of why I stay away from like the really small coins, like until they're on something more secure. Like here's another example. Like there's literally there's SafeMoon, right? There's literally a SafeMoon 2. I don't know if the website's down. I heard that I heard that already. I don't know if it's true that whoever had this site up, because okay, I'll say more about this. But I heard that the person who made that site, I think, has already like maybe taken it down and taken everyone's money. But you can literally go look up SafeMoon 2, and if it's still up, um, and so the point I really want to make with that is that when it comes to a lot of these altcoins, how to do an oh, man, my mind's exploding. So uh, one thing is that like a lot of people can make their own crypto, right? Like if learn some coding, learn some programming. There's probably a ton of people that are focusing on that right now because you make a coin that you can buy or start trading, and then here's basically the step by step. You get a website, you register it, build a website out, you say kind of like what your mission is, and then make it look nice and start convincing people that this is like the new big thing. Like, oh, it's so secure. Oh, it can do these kind of smart transactions, these smart contracts, like whatever. Um, you know, you get these like basically dividends, like where if you're like some of them, like if you hold your coins for a long time you get money back. If you sell, you get money back, or whatever, like, or if you refer somebody maybe you get more coins, like there's all these different things that are like really appealing, but none of those things really will promise that it will become like a stable coin. And again, like you can look, there's probably like at least like thousands and thousands and thousands of these coins, and more and more and more keep getting made every day. And so the point is, you make a website, you get people to buy in, and then if it never takes off, like then the people who already had their own coins just made themselves rich, possibly millionaires, and all these other people that put in like $100 or $1,000 thinking they're gonna be millionaires, it's just gonna plummet, or the project dies and they lose their money. So there's a lot of reasons to kind of stay away from it. Obviously, I want the good ones to work. I want people to make money. I don't want to sound like I'm one of the toxic people. Um, I'm supportive of everything, but I don't want anyone to lose money. And also, the other thing is like the fees are insane. Like some of these, like if you have like only $100 to invest and you try to put it in one of these like cryptos, it might cost you $30 just to do the first transaction, and then like, or more or less. Some of them are crazy. And then the other thing is like on a lot of these altcoins, getting your money out. Sometimes there's like a fee, and so like you might lose like 70% of like what you put in. And so yeah, that's because yeah, people ask me like why I don't get into all these other ones. And yeah, like I definitely have cryptos that I like a lot, but yeah, I'm not too interested in like these like super crazy gambles that you can't audit. First of all, you can't really verify, and you just have to take it for like it what they say, like whoever's making it. And it's really easy to get scammed. Like I've seen people like another, and then another thing is that like with these cryptos, like you have to type in a lot of times like a specific address. So you might be intending to buy a certain crypto coin, but you get on the internet and you're googling around. You there's It's very easy to get tricked into grabbing the wrong like digital address, and then basically buying what you thought was this particular crypto coin. Turns out you bought like a scam address coin, and you just sent your Ethereum or your whatever tokens to somebody who the hell knows where, and you're never going to get that back. Which is the other problem about crypto, is that who's going to back that up for you, right? Like the government's not going to help you. You can't sue these people like unless you can like maybe find them somehow, which again, if they can make a crypto, they can probably hide their tracks. So that's another thing. So yeah, let me find my list. I made a list of things I wanted to talk about. Also because when it comes to those like cryptos, I kind of look at them at the same as like how I look at like biotech companies. Although like I'm really interested in biotech companies, that's like one of the next things I really want to get into. But for me to invest in something, I really need to know the technology or the CEO or the services or whatever, right? I don't like not knowing. I like to do my. That's the whole reason I got into like doing a little bit more research. And so yeah, I have a list of all these biotech companies I would like to invest in, but I don't have the knowledge to be able to really understand like what these doctors or what these research papers, what these findings are, right? I can get some of it, but I did not go to medical school. I don't have like a biochem major, so that makes it hard for me, and why I want to learn more. And also, so for these cryptos, if I can't really see what's going on and what makes it so special, like just telling me that it has like bullet points on your website is not enough. You know what I mean? For me anyway. So that's kind of why I stay away from that stuff. Um, yeah. So another thing I want to talk about is actually I want to talk about a little bit like about my channel and whatever I'm doing with it because originally, like back in December when I started investing, it was kind of like I wanted to, because I basically had turned at that point I had turned $5,000 into about $30,000, and then by January I had turned $120 into $3,000. So I thought that was cool. I wasn't by any means thinking that I'm like gonna give people like really like specific advice or be like one of these YouTubers that like tells you how to trade, what like which stocks to buy, whatever. I just wanted to share like how it happened because I thought it was cool. But then what happened was that like come January, um, a lot of like weird stuff started happening in my head, like because like when I was buying these different companies, I had no clue. Like the two that I bought that ended up doing like 10x, and 16x. I did my research on them. I thought they were awesome, and I was like, okay, cool. Like in a few years, 5 years, I bet because they were at like $1 and $2 each. And I seriously was like, oh, you know what? I think in like 5 years, these are going to be $200 a share. Like they have so much potential in my eyes. That's why I bought them. And then like I wake up, like a couple days later or a week later, and there's just skyrocketing like crazy. There's some of like the craziest runs I've seen for like yeah. Anyway, uh, so I just want to be really clear. Like I didn't know that was going to happen. And so when it did happen, it was kind of just like fun and like almost like funny to me. I was like, wow. And it took a little bit for me to realize that like, whoa, this money's like real, because it was just numbers. I was just watching the numbers go up and up. And then I was like, whoa, like it suddenly started to hit me because like, I'd been working full time for a long time. I was at this last job for 3 years working 45 hours a week. And then also like at that time when I was investing, I was in school full time for computer science, working full time at my job, and I ended up becoming the manager there for just a little bit. Um, and then also dealing with like some court stuff, unfortunately, which was taking up a lot of my time. And then of course like all my hobbies and some other obligations too. So like my time was just getting like really filled up. And so when I started making all this money, like a lot of like weird stuff started like happening in my head where like, I started really, because like in January especially, like the amount of money that I had invested was making me like, and that was a good, and that was the end of like the really, really good time because the market started crashing in like February, but, or maybe at the end of February, I forget. But I, uh, I was making, so like, at this shitty job, I'm not going to say, like, I made a lot more in tips and stuff. But like, whatever I was, like basically my paycheck for 2 weeks of work, I would make that in literally 1 day or 2 days in stocks, just letting it sit there or doing some trades. So, and then after a while, it just kind of became like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I spending like 40 hours plus working overtime, busting my ass, and getting this little check when like literally I could not work here and then focus even more on this and make even more money. But then, so that started messing with my head a little bit. And then I started having this weird like imposter syndrome thing happening where like I felt like I didn't deserve it, because like I'd go to like, like Walgreens or go to like stores and see people also like working really hard, just the same as me, but not having all this extra money and this extra freedom. Because also like my bills are like really, really low. So I'm like in the perfect position where like when I make that kind of money, like it's just extra. Oh, you know what? Here's another thing. I should have said this earlier. Um, I not it might be hard to like get to this point, but part of why I also started investing and why I had that $5,000 that I started with, was I don't know if you know the YouTuber Graham Stephen, but he had some advice. It was basically like, you should have about 6 months of money in savings to cover your bills in case of an emergency or you lose your job or whatever. Obviously, have some money in your checking to cover like what your day to day. Ideally, have an income, but and then whatever extra money you should be investing. And so at that point in I think it was like August, September of last year, I had that much in my savings and I had a decent checking, and then I happened to have, a little bit more than that, which is why I threw in. I started off with like 2,000, then I upped it to three, and then like when Tesla uh, split, and then I bought some, and then it like crashed a bit. I threw in some more and bought more Tesla, which was a really good idea. It definitely paid off. But yeah, so I just want to put that out there a little bit because like it's okay if you don't have, because I actually don't think that you even need to have the 6 months. You just have to be kind of prepared if there's market crash. Because, but yeah, just because like I don't think cash is very good to have right now. I think you're way better off getting into stocks and getting into crypto. I think if you're sitting on a bunch of cash, you're losing money very quickly because everyone else is making money, like at an exponential rate, pretty much. So, um, yeah, I should have said that earlier. But yeah, so it doesn't like, so if you do only have like $1,000 or $500 in your savings, that's fine. Just what I was saying before, just be smart with like, because you need to build capital, right? That was another thing I got from Dave Lee where someone had asked like, oh, like, because it hit home to me because someone was like, oh, I have $5,000 to put into the stock market. What should I do with it? And the person and Dave was like, that's good, like good to invest, but like trying to get that $5,000 to be like $1 million is going to take a long time or going to be next to impossible. So what he was saying was that like, your problem here isn't like what you do with your investment. It's that you have a capital problem. You need capital coming in. You need a lot more than $5,000. So I got lucky to be able to turn that 5,000 into $30,000, and then whatever it became after that in January, where that amount of money was able to start building. $200 a day, $500 a day, $1,000 a day. But it takes having that chunk. It's not like every day I was turning a small amount of money into that much money. It was that amount of money grew, and it started, and that's when it hit me like, wow, like people that are rich literally can just like have investments sitting, like really rich, especially like millionaires. Like it's like, yeah, millionaires can like really mess up and spend everything, but Yeah, if you've got $1 million in the bank and you've got most of that in investments, like you're rich forever, especially if you're living frugal. You don't have to work ever again in your life. And even, you don't even have to have that much. You could have like honestly, you could probably have like $100,000 just in investments. And if you're smart, especially living cheap, you could live on that forever. But back to what I was saying was, yeah, all this weird stuff started happening in my head. Another thing that was happening was like I started getting really like, because when I made that much, like I remember just being like, "Whoa, this is actually real." And then I was at my job. I know I'm all over the place, but like I was at my job and then realizing like, because that job I thought was going to be like my dream job. I'm not going to talk about that job too much. I'll save that for later because I have a lot to say about that. It was such a weird situation, but um, I started like I always wanted to manage a restaurant, and I had this dream of like also like living in the in like an apartment above the restaurant, and just like being able to be there 24/7, and like really like make that an amazing place and like an awesome experience for everyone, all the customers and everything and the regulars. And so that was like kind of a dream up until then I made all this money, which still is, it was not that much money. Like I'm not a millionaire, not even close to anything like that. But I started realizing like, wait, like, is that what I really want to do? Because like the whole reason I got out of music a long time ago was like I was just so obsessed with like technology and science and just so curious about the world. I think every little thing is fascinating. And so then I started realizing like like what the hell, like is this really what I want to do? And so but the money didn't feel real to me yet. It wasn't until I started like cashing out a little bit of it, and basically like I could get anything I want on like if I needed something on Amazon, I didn't even have to look at it because anything I bought, I had so much money coming in constantly every day just on its own that it would just, like not only would it refill, but it would still be more money. So I could just buy whatever I want. I could buy clothes. I could buy like anything I needed. It would just refill itself. And then one day I was like, wait, like I can really like I could actually start to live like my dream, whatever that is, right? Or like at least start to like get in more into like my interests and everything, and like I don't necessarily need to spend all this time at this restaurant. And like the big thing for me was like like I've never bought a nice guitar, and so like that guitar right there, like I remember like because I'd never really pulled out because Robinhood you can get like a debit card, so I remember I ordered that, and I was like, can I really like do this? Like, how does this work? I mean, like, it sounds dumb now, but I was just like, wait, like, because I've never done stocks like this before. Like, I did it a long time ago, but it was such a different thing back then. Like, back like 10 years ago, you'd get like you'd have like a broker, like a physical office broker, which was Scott Trade at the time. And it was such a like slow process. Like there was like an online aspect, but like a lot of times you would like call your broker and do your trades that way. And and back then it was also more of like buy I can't remember, like I think Apple and like Starbucks, Build a Bear, like because that was like a seasonal thing. And during the winter time that stock would go up, but a lot of times it was like a lot slower. It wasn't like a day trading thing back then. The mentality I would say overall was like buy something and then wait 20 years and then you're gonna have something to retire on. Then with like the Robinhood thing and making it so quick, just totally changed the whole thing. And so anyway, so like, yeah, I remember like going and like pulling out the money to go get this guitar, and I was like, wait, like I have like this money, I can go get this thing. Like it never felt real until I got that, and then it's like, oh, like I've always dreamed of having a 3D printer, and I was like, I can order it like that, and it didn't even make a dent, and I still had more and more money just coming in, and then I just started realizing, like I kept going to work, and then realizing that like I really don't need to do this. And then as more time passed, it was weird. It was like it seriously was feeling like the universe was like screaming at me every time I would go to work. I was just like, why am I here? Why am I here? And then like thankfully one of the and he's a really smart guy, a really nice guy, just doesn't know how to like own and be in charge of a restaurant, like one of the owners, because the restaurant got bought by these new guys, and like he clearly had no clue what he was doing, and it became honestly to me embarrassing. Like again, I'm not going to get into it, but I threw a fit. I threatened to like shut that place down because things were not up to my standards, and so I just became like really unhappy and started realizing like, wait, like if I stay here, I'm going to be forever slowed down by these people. trying to like learn through mistakes about how to run a restaurant because I've already managed a restaurant before. So, and like I already ran a business before a long time ago too, for a few years. So like I'm no stranger to this stuff. And then to watch someone just really fucking it up, it was just like so painful to watch. And then it just started to really like again every day it was just like the universe was screaming like get the fuck out of there. And I was like, no, this is my passion, this is what I love. I want to stick it through here. I love this place. I put so much into this place because like my schedule was for 3 years. The last 3 years was I would work from 9:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night, no breaks from, and that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I would literally work about an 11 to 12 hour shift 4 days in a row. So I did have 3 days off, which was nice, but like seriously, like a block of just working, working, and I would do everything, like all the physical stuff, all the making the food, calls, like like doing delivery, like everything. Um, so I definitely like I grinded that job, and then yeah, it was just like realizing that like wait a second, like, and again, it was like it was such a weird thing because it felt like, and I will talk more about the whole like how it all started, you know, like because I basically I went through like a really difficult time at the beginning of like December, and I basically had like a mental breakdown, and and but instead of like going off the rails or being stupid, I just decided to focus even more on school and really focus on like stocks and like learning about different companies and day trading. Like I would be like in class in computer science, and I passed my classes by the way, but in class, like I would like be learning about companies and like day trading and like even be practicing different instruments and stuff. But yeah, it was just like it got to a point where I just couldn't handle it anymore, and I just left. And but the reason I want to bring that up is uh, because after that I decided I want to like really get into YouTube. But I'm really like camera shy. I don't like if you know me in real life, like I do not want to be part of group photos. I will not let you take a picture of me. I don't take selfies like barely ever. I have a weird like phobia of being on camera. I hate it. But I'm getting used to it, but I yeah, I still don't love it. I'd rather just not. Um but so like I know I'm all over the place, but um when I wanted to make a YouTube video, and like, again, like I wanted to make a you know how I turned 5,000 into 30,000. What happened was like I started seeing all these different YouTube channels, like new ones, like all these like new investors, because like there was a bubble, like that was like the most like bull run stock market in a long time. Like everything became like way overvalued, like it really did. Like companies that like oh, I should have probably said this earlier too. Like those companies that I bought into that went 1,000x and 1,600%. Um, it wasn't based on like earnings or like anything like that. It was like the future that I saw in those companies. So like another person probably who like maybe even like studied finance or you know econ or whatever probably would have looked at those companies and been like no way they're not making any money like like you probably would have looked at some of their the papers and been like oh this is not a good investment. But I don't look at things like that. I'm a much more future looking person. I don't know why, because I don't like. I will not say that I'm good at stocks. Like like that's not my thing. If I'm good at anything, it's being able to look into the future. I don't know if it's from reading hella sci-fi and be like I don't know where that comes from, but I have a good imagination and I can look at certain technologies and how, and especially when you look at a ton of different technologies and what's going to happen in the future, and what's been happening. To me, it's not hard to predict certain things, and yeah, the market agreed with me. I was ahead of the market on those things, but yeah, if you looked at the paperwork and the numbers, you would have been like, "This is terrible." Because also, even right now, these are companies that are not profitable yet, but I'm still invested in them, and I will continue to be until well until I make even more money. But I'll just hold them forever because I just love what they do. But yeah, I anyway, where was I? So all these new YouTube channels were popping up. All these like kids and all these like weird random adults and like whatever, like just saying that like buy the stock, it'll 2x, 3x, whatever. And that became like super concerning to me because of a few things. Was that um people would start to buy because stocks was getting more like popular, right? More people were getting into it, and I just got, yeah, really concerned because it's a really risky game, and you can buy a company and then like lose half your money quickly, like in a day, like, and I because it became more popular and people didn't know what they were doing. People were starting to get upset. The market started crashing, and so people were like losing a lot of money, getting depressed, and so like there's so many things where like one, um, there's like because yeah, even if like people win the lottery, sometimes they like go crazy, right? And even me making a small amount of money was making me a little bit crazy. Like there were so many thoughts I was overloaded from like every angle about like what I should do, what I shouldn't do, like um and I already deal with like mental health issues like crazy. So it was started to like really like mess with me, and I was happy to be in that position and a little bit like financially free, but it was still very overloaded. And like, yeah, like I was saying, like I started to get mad at the fact that like people that have a lot more money than me and are millionaires, because I was just like, man, like with this money, like I want to help people, like I want to be charitable, I want to like teach people how to maybe get into this too, like I just want to help. And then I would see people that have so much more money and that have always had more money, or or that don't seem to give a shit. In my opinion, just like take it for granted. I feel like a lot of people have their head up their ass. They're just like so focused on like themselves, and like, and that started to make me feel like really resentful or whatever. And again, so it just became like really heavy. And so I see all these YouTube channels popping up, and so and again, like this whole like, oh, buy this stock, like I never want to be that person. Like I'll recommend things, but I don't want to ever be like, oh, buy this, it's gonna 10x or like whatever. Like, and again, like I do have stocks that I think will 10x or whatever, but I think it's really dangerous to put that on a thumbnail and put that on YouTube, because you don't know who is going to watch that video and when they're going to see it. Like maybe at 10x and you were right, and at 10x the next day, and then and then it dumps, or it hits the peak a couple days later, and someone watches your video and they're like, oh, this company, this guy says it's going to 10x, and maybe it already did, and he's like, well, and then they buy into it, and then it drops, and then somebody loses all their money and they might not ever get that back. And so I didn't see enough people like being concerned with the sort of the repercussions. And then most importantly, I saw no one talking about, um, actually, except for Lewis Rossman. He did do a video that I really appreciated, and I'm thankful because he has a good platform. A lot of people watch his videos because it was about someone who made a ton of money off of like GameStop, and then felt they basically lost their mind. They were like, I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm an imposter. Like I don't deserve it. And it's really weird when you get a whole bunch of money and you feel like you don't deserve it. And I felt that way too. I was just like, all I did was because I did it for fun. It was never about the money. And so again, it messed with my head. And so I was like, no one's talking about like mental health at all. And so then that became like my new thing. I was like, I want to warn people and advise people, but I still had this phobia of being on camera and like whatever. And so, yeah, like my channel, I don't know what it is. It's going to continue to be random stuff about my interests. I will talk about stocks and like companies I've researched because it's just what I like to do. But it's going to be about music. It's going to be as I get better with my 3D printer. As I get back into like coding, I might start finishing up my game just because. I don't know. I saw some things that kind of like inspired me to get back into it. I was making that Solvay game, and I went through like a really difficult time when I was working on it, and I just like stopped. Actually, I'll tell you what, my grandma died, and I just stopped. And so yeah, there's a lot of things I want to get back into. Like yeah, I have a ton of interests. I just want to share them all, and they might change day by day. But I like to, because I've always been a teacher or a person that likes to teach what I'm learning. I feel like it makes me learn better and faster is to like teach something as I'm going and talk about it. So that's kind of what this channel is. But a large part of it is that I want to teach people because I've made so many mistakes in life and I have mental health issues. I definitely want to talk about that a lot and how it relates to just like life and these different ways to like deal with and cope with like depression, bipolar, like mild schizophrenia, being manic, or dealing with like heartbreak, or death, and all these different things that maybe aren't as fun to talk about but are really important to me, because if you don't get those things under control or don't know how to deal with them, um, it can really destroy you, and it can cause you to make a lot of mistakes, both for yourself, um, for your loved ones, for friends, like, and yeah, I just don't see enough of that kind of like support for people. And people are really afraid to talk about those things, like shockingly afraid to discuss their own mental health issues. And like, maybe I am a little bit too, because it is weird. It can feel kind of like imposing or like whining, or I know a lot of people feel like their problems aren't um, bad enough to discuss or to bring up. Like, oh, other people have it worse, therefore, I should just like shut up or something. But that's like the opposite of what you should be doing. Like, everyone should be open about it. Um, like for example, like this last like week and a half, I've had some like shitty stuff kind of going on, and I have not been feeling very good at all. Like a few days, I was just like completely down, and and then I had a friend text me just randomly, and this is a friend that like I respect a lot. They're really intelligent, like hardworking, really successful, like a role model person. And I'm not going to dox them or say who they are, but we were talking, and like, they feel suicidal sometimes, you know, and I don't. It's weird for me to talk about, because like I'm never ever gonna like do that. But like a lot of people, when things are bad, are like, why am I even here? Like, what's the point of like going on? Like, and that's the thing, is that like I think what people are afraid of is when they talk about things like that, is that they're afraid that people are going to be even more concerned or upset with them, or that is definitely, I know it's a weird thing to talk about because people don't talk about it. It's only like in the most private situations that people will bring that up, and they'll be reluctant to do it. But like we talked about it, and like I'm pretty sure that they felt better about being able to talk about it. We talked about a whole bunch of other things too, but it's just like people are really afraid to bring up, like, man, imagine all the people that, and some people do talk about suicide, but like I'm not trying to fixate on that too. Like it could be bipolar, it could be like schizophrenia. Like maybe you're hearing things, hearing voices or seeing things, and you don't want to bring it up with anybody because they want. Because man, like when you bring up mental health issues and people don't understand you, it makes you feel really alone. And so sometimes it's better off to like not say anything, rather than feeling like you express something super personal, and then feeling shut down, or like it was stupid, or whatever, or they told you just get over it or whatever. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But yeah, so anyway, that's a large part of what I want this channel to be. And then again, like I've done everything stupid ever. Like I've done every bad, horrible thing that a person can do in life. Like I've done maybe okay things too, or maybe some good things. But trust me, like I've done anything stupid you can think of or awful, I've done. So I definitely want to put something out there that can help people or somebody with those things. Like one example is like I have two DUIs, two, and that's pretty embarrassing and pretty stupid. But I want to talk about that because like I want to dig into like why did I ever decide to drink like that? What were like the things that like led to that? The things in my life, like things about my personality, like what was I thinking, like what happened on that day, what happened that week, like because like yeah, like because the goal is that like if I could influence or advise someone, or they watch my stupid videos and they decide to maybe like not go to the store and get the bottle to suppress their pain or their heartbreak or their their depression or whatever, or to feel like they don't have to drink so much when they go to a party, to deal with like their social anxiety, or because it's going to make them more fun or whatever, or seem cooler, or they don't have to always take shots with everybody just because someone says let's do shots, which can be hard, when everyone's just having fun and you don't want to, I don't know, you just want to like be a part of like the group or whatever. So yeah, I really want to dig into like all those different things, because yeah, if like even one person is like, you know what, I'm not going to finish this fifth of vodka, or I'm not going to like go get a six pack of beer, and like, like if I could just make one person like start to think clearly or make better decisions, and like that's worth more than any of this shit. So, yeah. So I'm gonna not ramble so much about that for another hour, because I wanted to also bring up this thing where like I mentioned it a couple times, like on Twitter and like Facebook, but this is game. It's not. I don't want to call it a game. It's more just like a thing that you can download, and it's called Kind Words. I seriously think that every single person in the world should have this thing, because what it is, it's basically you have a little character and they're like in a room and there's like lo-fi like chill music playing, all these different cool tracks. Like the music's great. And basically, you just write and answer these anonymous letters, and you can say whatever you want. And what's cool is that like people will go on this thing, and because it's anonymous, they'll just write a letter about what they're going through, what they're afraid of. Um, People will talk about like again like bipolar or like you know I saw someone that is hearing voices on there. I saw someone that was like worried about like college that they're gonna fail. One random one was like someone was like, oh, like my significant other went to college and I really miss them. How do I deal with this? I have anxiety. Like I don't think I can handle this. Like one that I had written about a while ago, like my dad is dead, and every once in a while that makes me sad. And so like I wrote a letter on there and had people writing me back anonymously, like saying how just like really really nice things and like basically things that make you feel not alone. And you'd be surprised, like again, like people will go on here and talk about feeling suicidal. Like one person was like talking about how they started cutting themselves. So like there's nothing you can't talk about on there. And what's crazy is that like the darker and the more alone you feel about what you're dealing with, there's someone out there. Like I've read letters um of people who are going through things or go through things that are things that I thought only I had to deal with, which was crazy. I was like, what the hell? Like, I literally thought that that was only me, and it's not just me. So I really think that everyone should have that. It's a really really powerful thing. Like trust me, like the feeling when someone answers your letter and they say something that makes you feel not alone or better, like it changes your whole mood, your whole day. And there's something incredible too about answering people's letters and knowing that like you help them, because also in that little game, like it sounds dumb, but there's like all these like little stickers. Like if you want to thank someone, you can send them like a sticker, and there's all these different unique stickers. Like you literally like don't have a sticker until someone like gives you a particular sticker, so like you can go around like collecting them or whatever. That's not that important. That's literally just a way to say thank you. But when you get into kind words and you open it up and you haven't been there for a couple days and you get these like people saying thank you and they give you like a sticker or like whatever, it's that validation of like knowing that like someone appreciated like your advice or your help, or even just saying that like you're going through that too, even if you don't even know like, how to advise them. Just them not feeling alone is like just tremendous. So I highly advise that. And also on a less like emo note, um and one thing that really got me out of my like rut this last week was okay, if you haven't seen the movie Loaded Weapon 1, it's an older movie. It's either from like the late, it might be from 1993 or like 89. I forget which one, maybe 93, but like yeah, it's an older movie, but it's like this National Lampoon spoof movie of like the old like Lethal Weapon and like Die Hard type films. And maybe you've seen like the Naked Gun trilogy with like Leslie Nielsen, but in my opinion, Lethal Weapon 1 is one of the funniest movies like ever, ever, ever. Like, and to me, that movie gets funnier and funnier like with age. Like, it's so good because like, and the reason I bring it up was like I was seriously so down one of these days, and then I remembered that I had that on like a thumb drive, and so like I put that on, and literally within 10 seconds of watching that movie, I wasn't even worried about anything anymore, and I was just laughing for like ever. Like and like I actually want to watch it again because it's just like it's such a silly movie that yeah, it just pulls you out of like there's no way that you can stay depressed and watch that movie. It's impossible. So yeah, so if you're ever having a bad day, check out Loaded Weapon. And then this is another really random thing on in the same vein of like just kind of like, and you don't have to be even in a bad mood. This is just a great game. This one is an actual game. Kind Words is not a game. There's no winning. There's no losing points. Like you don't move a character around or jump on anything. You just write letters. So but I did want to bring this up because it's one of my favorite things ever, and right now it's free on the Epic Game Store, which is Alien Isolation. And I bring it up because I just literally watched every single Aliens and like Aliens versus Predator and Predator movie that there is, like all of them. I love that franchise so much. It's one of my obsessions, and like at least twice a year, if not more, I'll watch all the Aliens movies, but I think now I'll just like literally watch all of them because, and they're not all good. I don't care if they're good or not. I just like the idea, like and I like how each one is different. And it's interesting to me how there's so many bad things in a lot of those movies. Like, man, like the Aliens versus Predator ones are so terrible, but it's still entertaining to me, like certain aspects of it, or at least like the action or like the gore or like whatever. But the reason I bring up this Alien Isolation game is because it's also like it's not like a shooting game. Like it's more like the first movie where you're on a ship, like a spaceship, and you're like it's like a stealth game where you're having to hide. You have to go on these like little missions and like you're trying to like escape the ship and like doing these different things around the ship so that you can escape. But you're hiding from one of those aliens. You have to like hide in lockers, hide under things, like you do things to like trick it basically. And it's one of the most intense, like like scary, just like and the audio is so just like every little noise you're just like, wait, what? Like you might be hiding like in a locker thinking like, oh, can I get out now? Like can I like walk from here to there? And then like the alien comes back or he can like smell you or like heard something and you're like, oh god, because it's an instant kill. You cannot kill this alien ever. And so yeah, I just brought that up because like it's so fun. And also like that's the thing that like if you have like kids or just like with friends and stuff, like it's I would be just a really fun one to like go through. Um and yeah. So I don't know. Um I kind of want to do more things like this because like when I make those other videos, like sometimes it stresses me out a little bit because I want it to be so good or so concise to say everything perfect. Um but I want to be even more kind of like real or whatever and just share like random stuff because like I have so many interests that I don't think it's even possible for me to like put them all into videos. Like I forget all the things that I'm like into. So yeah, I'm gonna keep this up. I don't know if I'll do it like once a week or whatever. Oh, also like I actually do want to like stream. Like I actually like it's just like I have anxiety of like being on camera, which is kind of embarrassing. But like I like seriously like my whole life I have like a weird phobia of being on camera. I can't explain it. Like good luck finding pictures of me. Like there you won't find many. um, it's really strange, but like yeah, if there's a group photo, like I'm behind the camera. You know what I mean? Like I will not be up in there. Like I don't want that. Um, but yeah, I would really like to, if people have questions like about whatever, like if you want to ask me about a company, um, because like again, like I'm not a finance like expert or anything like that. It just became like a passion, like about learning about these different companies, which led me to have to be more knowledgeable about like stocks and investing and like whatever. So if anyone has questions, like of course I'm down to like help. Um, and but also about anything else like about music, like I'm happy to help with that. Like if you want to talk about like 3D printing, like I'm super down. Like any little thing like coding. I'm trying to think of, like again, the list is just endless. Like there's nothing in the world that doesn't interest me except maybe sports. Don't talk to me about sports. That one not so much. Yeah, so anyway, um I hope everyone's having a good day, good night. um Yeah, and it's Sunday now, I think. So we'll see what happens this week. I don't really have anything specifically to talk about. The only thing interesting to me is like Dogecoin, to be honest. Also, I should say something too. This is a random thing to like say at the end. The only thing that I really see as a threat to like stocks right now is the fact that like crypto is doing so incredibly well, and will continue to do well. So the only thing that I see like stocks having trouble with in terms of doing like as good as they did like in I don't know like November, December, January, is that if it keeps seeming like putting your money in crypto is just the better move. Like if I'd put everything that I put into stocks over the last few months just into Dogecoin, it'd be worth so much money, right? And so Doge has been doing well for me and for a bunch of people, but that's so yeah, I just want to put that out there. So I'm not saying don't buy stocks because it's still attached to the companies, and the companies can still do well. But that's one thing that I would maybe watch out for is maybe don't put everything into stocks right now because like I might even just be like 50-50. If like okay, I would do this like, oh, you know what, maybe even like 30-30, or 30, obviously like in thirds. So like maybe have like a third in stocks, have a third in crypto, and have a third in cash to buy dips on things. Because that's another really important thing. You don't want to have all your investment cash in, because again, like you might buy a great company and that might be a fair price for it, but then the market doesn't do well, which again, a lot of the times when the market crashes, it has nothing to do with the companies. It's just like, oh, Biden said this, or inflation, bonds, like all these random things will cause the market to do crazy stuff, and it's really annoying. It really is annoying because it like people lose faith in the company, but it has nothing to do with the company. um Oh, also another thing I meant to say earlier was like, when it comes to like your tolerance, like for like, because like when you buy stocks, like yeah, you should be trying to hold long term. There's also like tax reasons. Like if you hold a stock for over a year, you pay way less capital gains than if you like day trade or if you sell it within a year. There's a bunch of reasons like to keep it long term, although it is still fine to, in my opinion, to swing trade if you're making a good amount. But I've seen people everywhere, like on Twitter, on YouTube, and Facebook, and everything, like people that get into trading, and then they buy a stock, and then it's red, and then they get rid of it the next day. Like, and so I just want to say one thing, like if you can't handle some stocks that you buy being red for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, what are you doing? Like, like, and no one wants to see their stocks in the red, but if the company is doing well and you believe in the company and you've done your research and you know that they're going to be profitable or make some, anyway, like uh just I've seen people been freaking out and selling out of something like within a day or two, and then that same stock a day or two later just like does really well. So not only did they lose money, but then they didn't make any money, and then they're kicking themselves because they're like, oh, I sold too soon. So just like it's really hard to build that like tolerance. Like it takes going through that experience of having stocks be down in the red for a while and getting used to it and not getting too emotional about it. um because yeah, like if you look at people just saying like, "Oh, look, I bought this stock and it would have skyrocketed," because people are, of course, are gonna post like their best stocks, like their best gains and like whatever. Don't let that fool you, because like for all the times that I've made good money, there's so many times where I lost a lot of money. Like I had a day where I lost $7,000. And I had another day or week or whatever where I lost $10,000. So had plenty of times where I've made well more than that. But like, yeah, like that happens too. And like, but and those times are so important because that $7 and $10,000 loss, I learn more than making any of that money. Like you learn so much more from those like bad times, and those are so important. And that's what makes people a better and better and better trader. Like eventually, you run out of mistakes to make, and all the best people will tell you that. Seriously, like you have to learn from mistakes, and thinking that it's going to be clear sailing, that everything, like no, you're going to fuck up. You know what I mean? Like if you're really getting into it and trying to be active with it, like you're going to make some terrible trades, you're going to pick bad stocks, like things are just, you know what I mean? But you'll learn and you'll learn, and then eventually you'll be a good trader, you'll make some money. So anyway, my voice is like running out right now. Take care.